Kim, that's a beautiful color on you. You're welcome. All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I expect a few more folks to join us, but I greatly appreciate all of you coming together today. My name is Amy Dessenberg-Wines. I help manage the Iowa Coalition for Integration and Employment, and I'm delighted that you can join us today for our Employment First monthly community of practice. And I'm so excited for today's session. We have Ali DeYoung, who is with WISE in Washington State. And Ali has some great experience in lots of different realms. Today, she's going to talk with us about website portfolios, which is just very cool. And so, Ali, I am going to turn it over to you and let you share a little bit more about yourself, and we can just jump right in.
All right, sounds great. Well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. All right, I think that's on. Great. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's really exciting to have an opportunity to meet with you today and share about this project. It's great to reconnect with Amy. We've worked together in the past, so it's great that I'm excited that our paths have crossed again, and she's brought me on to share about this. Yeah, so I will go ahead and get started. So just the game plan for today, I wanted to do a little activity. It says intro and overview, but I'll do a quick activity. I'm going to share about what a website portfolio is. We're going to look at some samples. I'll share about the course that I recently designed, and then we'll have some time for question and answer. So I'm going to switch screens here. So a few quick questions is we're going to use Mentimeter. I'm going to go ahead and present this. So you can access this by scanning the QR code or using the link, and I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat.
I just put it in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Cool. I see one person's joined. There we go. Looks like that's working. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and progress to the next screen. I've been in this virtual world kind of before this became standard practice, and it still just feels so odd presenting to my screen alone. So I love this tool to help engage with the audience and just see kind of who's here. So the first question is what is your current role? Within your job or parent, kind of anything that helps. Perfect. Job developer. See those coming in already. Executive director. Great. So huge variety. Manager, employment services, TA, work experience coordinator. Awesome. Great. And this just helps me also tailor the presentation so that I'm kind of meeting, tapping into each of the people that are here, doing my best to do so. All right, we've got 15 responses. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide. So a question specifically about tracking students' work experience. So what tools do you see / are you using with students or job seekers to share about their work experience? Yeah, and if you're unable to get in or you're having technical difficulties, please feel free to just drop it in the chat. Or if you're not on screen with us. resumes. Great. Perfect. So visual, video and picture resumes, traditional resumes, workplace, work experience while in high school, LinkedIn. Awesome. Visual resumes, informational interviews. YouTube. Great. That's probably video experience, just kind of sharing, either recording themselves or adding, yeah, using video to share about experiences. Great. All right, well, I'll move on to this last one. So what do you have to learn about website portfolios today? So if you got on and you're like, I had no idea we were talking about this. This is our topic for today. So if you're not sure what those are, no worries. But if you are, have heard of this, this is not necessarily new. So. Great. Well, I hope to share all the things with you today. How to get them started and going to support students entering the workforce. Perfect. Where to start? Love that. This is new to me. I hope to learn a lot. Where to start? That is often the question, and it feels overwhelming, and I understand that. So I'm hoping that this is helpful. Perfect. How to build a marketable portfolio. That's very important. Yes. Share easily in storage, confidently, confidentiality. Yep. Great. How to get people to use that. So the employment specialist and even this person that's seeking the job to use the tool as well. Great. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to our presentation. And I'm going to start with a story. So I realized I didn't introduce myself. Amy did a little bit, but my name is Allie DeYoung. I am coming to you today from Tucson, Arizona. I live in Tucson and work remotely for WISE, and I'll share a little bit about what we do in just a few minutes. But my husband was in the Air Force, so we moved around quite a bit, and I attended the University of Arizona, where I did my undergraduate and graduate degree in special education with a focus on students with more significant support needs. And I had worked in direct support roles, so students in transition programs during my studies. And then my first job was a job developer. And then I moved into a coordinator position at a post-secondary education program that was a TIPSID grant at the University of Arizona. And then we moved to North Carolina. And this is kind of where my story really starts with Ahmad specifically. So this is a picture of me and Ahmad at graduation. And I remember I moved to North Carolina, basically had to uproot and didn't really know what I would be doing for work. And I found that the University of North Carolina at Greensboro had one of the only four-year programs in the state for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities to attend the university. And it had a residential option. So my role as supporting the students was in the classroom, but also in their dorms or in their apartments that they were living in. And Ahmad and I worked together kind of during my whole time. I started working with him as a direct support and then moved more into a coordinative role. But the story with website portfolios and where this starts is I had been working with students in previous positions, integrating technology and the power of all of that, and just found that this was a really valuable communication tool for students to capture and gather their experiences and present it in a professional way. So when I started with Ahmad, we had started working with building. I was like, let's just build a website. So we put together these websites over the course of a year. And Ahmad here, this is him standing confidently at the front of the room. It was really cool. He sent an invitation out to the connections that he had made at the university at the time, and had over 40 people attend his final presentation, which was really powerful. And the powerful story with Ahmad is we had been working together. We had support. We had time where we would meet and talk about his rights and responsibilities. His really strong active voter. That was really important to him, and he always wanted to get his driver's license. So as we were working through those goals, one shift we went to the DMV, or I'm learning that those are called very different things in many different states, but to get his driver's license, to do his test. And we got up to the front and, gave him his name and number, and the thing popped up and just said, basically, he's not able to speak for himself. And we were like, what is going on? Why is this showing? So I remember standing in the parking lot. I was like, okay, well, let's go give your mom a call and see kind of what might be causing this. And we gave his mom a call, and she told him that she'd gotten guardianship over him. It was something that another parent had said, and she was just like, well, I thought this was something I needed to do to protect him. And Ahmad had been learning what that meant in terms of, his rights and his ability to vote and do the things that he wanted to do and live independently. So a few weeks later, he's at dinner with his mom, and they kind of got into a little tiff, and he said to her, I'm firing you as my guardian. So, and we've presented on this before, the three of us, kind of just that whole, how all this unfolded, but she has shared, like, in that moment, she's like, I knew that I'd done something wrong. Like, it was not malicious why she did that, but she just knew that she needed to change it. And I had received the paperwork kind of after this had happened of the documentation, and it said, reason for guardianship, and the reason under his name said incompetent. And I remember just this like a gut punch feeling of how do we undo this? So it's really hard, especially for an individual that communicates differently or may not be able to stand in front of a judge and justify their rights. Would be really challenging to do. So Ahmad had been working on his website portfolio for the whole year. He had his entire school transcript, how he was navigating the community, living independently. And we were on a shift one day after all this had happened, and kind of doing some housekeeping. We were reviewing emails and like going over voicemails. And we had found this deleted voicemail in his phone. And it was from the lawyer who was trying to undo this process that had just been done. And I just said to Ahmad, I said, why don't we just draft up an email, send him an email, we'll put the link to your website portfolio in there and send it off. And we didn't kind of send it out and didn't really know what was going to happen. And he had his rights reinstated immediately. So we feel that it's almost just like you can't deny photos and videos of this young man like working and living in his community, and all the job experiences that he had throughout his time at the university. So he's kind of my guiding light in all of this. We still talk, and he still calls me and says, I posted on my blog today. So yeah, it's really cool to see kind of really how that truly impacted his life. So my whole reason of sharing that is if it can help someone get their rights reinstated, we absolutely can use a tool like this to help someone gain competitive employment and document their experiences. So quickly on WISE, so we're a training and technical assistance organization based in the Pacific Northwest, and our mission is to promoting equitable employment for people with disabilities through innovation, training, and technical assistance. So we do a couple, there's lots of buckets of work that we do. I'm working in a training and technical assistance role, and that's kind of what's allowed me the time and space to create this course that I'll share with you in a little bit around this idea. So what is it? A website portfolio is a portfolio in a digital format. So as many of you shared at the beginning, your resumes, videos, all of those things. So this portfolio is designed to house all of that information. It's built using a website template, and it's easy to share, change, and add information, and provides an avenue for real-time updates. I'm a big advocate for real-time updates. I just love the option to just change something in one place, and then it's across the board changes, through a hyperlink. So, it's not like which version of the PowerPoint or who's got the original and is it attached to this email. And I don't know how to get into that. So the purpose is that it's when something's updated, it's changed across the board, which makes it really dynamic, which is kind of where the name of this came from. So website portfolios elevate student voices by allowing them to share their experiences and skills in order to create opportunities for successful employment. This process gives students the power to take a leadership role in planning their future and demonstrating their skills using technology. So I'll give my little asterisk here, and Amy and I had a great discussion about this yesterday of, I use, in this specific example, students, because the students in this photo, I just completed a pilot project with Seattle Children's Project Search. And these are the 6 students that made their websites. So in this situation, these are students that are making the website. However, this tool can be used for anyone who's seeking a job. Student, adult, disability, invisible disability, kind of really anyone can use a tool like this to showcase their skills. So I know there were some people that said getting employment supports or employment specialists to use this tool. There's a way, that an individual that they're working with could create something like this using this idea. So what makes this so important, increases students' voice and autonomy. And I feel like Ahmad's story just exuberates that explanation of, allowed him to express his voice in a different way and project autonomy over his life. It's truly strength-based. So looking at the strengths of students, strengths and skills, and it creates a portrait of competence. So we're looking at it's a very professional representation of the student. As anyone that, typically you would see a portfolio in like a marketing role or someone who is an artist that's trying to share out their examples, or someone who is selling something, but truly a 21st century skill that makes it look professional. A powerful communication tool, user-friendly, both in creating and allowing the person to be a part of the entire process, and the person owns it. And that's what I feel like, it's truly person-centered in nature, because it's being strength-based, that the individual who's creating this has say over what goes in it, how it looks, the photos that are included, the wording that we use. They're kind of part of that whole process. I think that's a really important piece. So the benefits of a digital and online format: teaches technology skills and web design, promote self-advocacy. So really taking a look at, what are my strengths and interests? Where do I need support? What does that look like? What have I learned from my experiences? So kind of digging, having the individual look internally of how they want their story to be told. It's professional and dynamic, completely customizable, and easy to modify, update, and share. So again, like I was saying, this just comes through as an individual could share this with a potential employer, and there can be numerous versions of a portfolio. So if a student with the more significant support needs wants one specifically about what works and doesn't work, or what they like, what they're looking for, and someone who's going to be a personal care attendant, like you can have a portfolio that is directly reflects that information. And then there's one that's more employment focused. So once an account is created, numerous sites can be developed as well. So success is in the details, and the details must get documented. A mentor of mine at the time when I was working at UNCG said this. She was in a parent role, or she was in a parent support role. So she was supporting the parents as the students were kind of letting the birds fly, as letting them go to the university. She was in a really critical role of supporting the parents through that process, because sometimes it's like, nope, they're, we're just cutting the ties. And then you've got these parents who are like, but my child's been in a self-contained classroom their entire education, and now they're on a college campus. So like looking at how to support the parents in that. So this specifically became a really powerful tool to allow the student to document their experiences over time. So I had started it with the seniors, but the students that were coming in at the beginning of the 4-year program, what they had started to implement was that they just they get the template going and then start gathering the content during that time, because there's a lot of important information that happens in work-based learning experiences, specifically what we don't like, what we learn that we don't like, and figuring out how to document that so that we don't keep doing the same thing over and over again. So, but it's just, and then, learning to use technology through that. And then if the information doesn't get documented properly, the information gets lost. or it's, you know, in a binder with a previous care coordinator or someone else who maybe out of the student's life or has transitioned to a new position. So I feel like this is key to to documenting some of those really important things. For Ahmad specifically, you know, we had a section on his website that was password protected. So you can have a section that's kind of restricted area. You know, you need a password to get into that. But on there, we had created some checklists that he had used, one specifically for taking care of his betta fish. So we had a betta fish checklist of like, how often do we clean it? And when does betta get fed and all of those certain things. So if you only have one website, somebody that you're interviewing for a job does not need to see your betta fish checklist, which is why it's kind of in a protected section on the website if it's all in one spot. Like I said, again, you can have two websites, but so looking at, you know, the examples that you had shared before of things that you're seeing in the field or have used before, the website portfolio becomes this umbrella that encompasses all of these items. So the resume, work samples, video and picture, references and testimonials. So from previous supervisors or work experiences, videos can be captured of them sharing about, you know, the individual working there. There's a way to, you basically just link with the icon for LinkedIn profiles, Facebook and Instagram if appropriate, but more, you know, this is supposed to be a professional platform. So LinkedIn being one that a lot of people network through. And I find that this is just more dynamic than a LinkedIn profile. So all of this information essentially could be on a LinkedIn profile. But it just is kind of you have more flexibility with how the information is stored and shared on a website versus just the LinkedIn. And then a section on job accommodations, given if the individual wants to share that, they can have that as an open page, or it can be protected. So again, like, how does this tool help us meet our desired outcomes, identify specific areas of strengths with the focus on transition and employment outcomes, thus reducing the need for unnecessary support services and assessments. So this, I feel like, is truly addressing our transition cliff of what did they do? What did we do in high school? Where have we worked? What are you interested in? If we can capture that, this should bridge the gap of the transition cliff from the individual, where the individual is moving, whether that's an adult who is moving from sheltered employment into competitive employment, or from one setting to another, whatever that might look like. This is just to help paint a better picture of what their life looks like and things that they've experienced. And then again, just thinking about ourselves, if every time you met with somebody, you're constantly getting asked the same questions over and over again, how frustrating that feels. And to take the same assessment that, like, you don't even know where the results go. So this is a really cool way if you do have required or mandatory assessments, that this is a great opportunity to sit with the person who has taken the assessment and extract out the important information, and then that can be put on the portfolio. Wix Tomorrow. So this Wix Tomorrow is formerly Wix Education. They just had a kind of rebranding that happened, but Wix is a free international website builder. And they, at the beginning of, I think it was 2021, came out of beta testing and released Wix Education, which is a free platform for educators. And what that provides, I say educators, I've developed a partnership with them and have explained kind of the power of this process. And they are totally open to, like, allowing employment supports or provider agencies to, like, access an account like this. I think it's been a cool partnership to kind of broaden their view of what learners are, and that we can be adult learners. We can continue to learn throughout our life, and that's kind of what we are in that role, coming out of education into adult services, that's all applicable to and can be really, really beneficial for the people that we support. So it provides a dashboard to view, manage, and provide feedback on the websites. Option to graduate students or graduate, and meaning that during the build process, while the facilitator who is, like, helping with this process is supporting the individual and making the website, this dashboard contains things a little bit. So when I was working with Ahmad, we didn't have a platform like this. So all students had individual accounts. and I had to like keep the spreadsheet of passwords, and I had to go in and we had to be like co-administrators and co-authors. So all of these things can exist somewhere else. You don't have to use Wix tomorrow, but it just provides a really clean way to implement this initially. And then the cool part about being able to graduate the sites is that it then just turns into a free Wix account. So Wix is, like I said, a free website builder. And this also helps quiet the clutter. If you sign up for a Wix account, or really any of them, WordPress, Weebly, Shopify, all of those, you get inundated with emails of buy this URL, 50% off Black Friday sale. Are you sure you don't want to upgrade? So all of that is like is gone with this, because they have some really strict FERPA laws that are within this system to help mitigate the spammy emails that they're getting. And like I said, quiet the noise of what can feel like kind of an overwhelming process. And then we actually had an opportunity to test the co-teacher function with this. And this kind of depends on the setting, but for a transition program, for example, if there were two lead teachers, there could be a teacher and then a co-teacher. So that's kind of I think the vision with Wix tomorrow. But when we did this with Project Search, Seattle Children's Project Search, the lead teacher was the teacher, and then the co-teacher was the representative from the employment agency. So that really helped bridge the gap of when the students leave the teacher, they're kind of being handed off. The sites are being handed off, like a soft handoff to the employment agency. They just have a really beautiful way that program is overlapped, that the employment agency is embedded in that program, so that when the students graduate, they're kind of already connected to the next step for employment. So that was how we utilized the co-teacher function there, but that can be used in a handful of different ways. So this is a look kind of at the teacher version dashboard, if you will. So it allows the teacher to see the student sites in progress. So you can click on these and either edit the site, view the site, add feedback. You can assign class activities within here. There's different settings. This is the new graduate class site option. And then up here at the top is the classes, the sites within your course. They have 4 online courses that they developed about web design, web development, intro to Wix and the web. And those can all be accessed through this portal as well. And then templates. So if you're familiar with website templates, if you go on to any of these, there's just hundreds of thousands of website templates, basically all the same, just like tweaked a little bit. So what this system did is they slimmed that down to about 15 options, which again, quieted some of the noise so that it wasn't so overwhelming to select. And really, I just found myself having like the same conversation with students of like, well, this is a coffee shop website, but it's not really a coffee shop. We're going to put your picture here. And it made things pretty confusing. So they've slimmed some of those options down, which was really helpful. So we're going to take a look at Roshni's website. So 2 students, we'll take a look at their websites. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Project Search model, but they do the 3 rotations within the 1 year post-graduation. Well, I guess depending on how the program is set up, but this is just a brief interview or intro from Roshni. She talks a little bit about what the program was, and then this highlights the 3 rotations that she did within Seattle Children's. And so just it adds this like dynamic effect to the photos. You can click directly on rotation 3. It takes you down to rotation 3. So she supported in the Autism and Behavioral Health Center, clinical support assistant. So she restocked the appointment rooms. This is where the clinicians were coming in, and then sorting and cleaning the assessment kits according to hospital protocols. And different sections on here. This shows her certification. So if you have students that have completed first aid or the food handler certification, where they graduated, that sort of stuff can all be included in here as well. And then some of her advocacy work, which was kind of cool that she added this. So as a through this project, we were invited to present at the Microsoft campus. So she was able to present her website, which was really amazing. And I remember her current teacher had said, I would have never thought that she would get in front of a room and talk about this, but it's just kind of having this tool, just as a lot of us do with presenting, like it gives us something to kind of redirect attention to, and gives us talking points. So this was really cool to see her do that. And then she ended up presenting at their big graduation at Children's Hospital. So some of her academic information. So if we go back, we can take a peek at, and then I have a pause after this one. I can answer some questions before I get, before we wrap up. So this is Hasten. Hello, everyone. My name is Hasten, and I'm a Seattle Children's Project Search graduate. I'm excited to introduce myself and share a bit about myself. So he kind of similar explanation of what Project Search is. Some photos. This was when the group went to Microsoft. Different experiences that he's had, future career goals, qualities and characteristics. So again, looking at his, I was going to go to his internships. So his internship roles or overviews are these different sections, and it was just awesome to add in. I mean, these are just like videos from an iPhone, like nothing fancy. We just clipped these. We even did some like, you can do like a time lapse video. But what the powerful thing with this is, I think even his parents seeing this kind of come together and like seeing Hasten in motion, feel like they'd always kind of viewed him as lazy, which is really unfortunate because in this environment, he just thrived. And this was one of his favorites, but his most favorite rotation that he did was the protection and advocacy outreach, the Click for Babies. So he did quality control on these hand knit hats that go to the babies in the NICU, and would take the stickers and, make sure that there weren't any holes or loose threads. So a really systematic process that he followed, and loved that experience. So this is just, you could sit at a meeting and like Hasten uses a communication device. So if he's not prepared and then somebody's just like, yeah, he volunteered and did, Click for Babies, versus like this kind of speaking for itself, and Hasten puts him back kind of at the center, puts him back at the center of this, of sharing what his experience has been. So this is an example of one of the guest areas. So this is password protected. So I know someone at the beginning asked about confidentiality. There's kind of a spectrum to this of what people feel comfortable with. I start this by sharing that these are unlisted websites. It's similar to like an unlisted YouTube video. It's posted online. You can't search it. It's not going to come up. You can't access it without the specific URL. And then with Wix tomorrow, like they have gone through pretty stringent privacy certification and process within their system. So that's the other benefit of using something like Wix tomorrow, because all of those settings can be toggled on and off, but you kind of have to know what you're doing on the back end of setting up just a free website builder, so that it's not going to show up in Google searches, and where the information is going. And I preface all of this with, it's kind of what you would put on a LinkedIn profile. So if a student doesn't want to put their last name, or they don't want to put, obviously a part of the course that I've designed is private information. There's like public and private information and what you would share. What's a personal, something that is an interest of yours, versus like private information, like your birth date, your social security number, your location, those sort of things. So that's part of the student track course that we talk about of protecting information, and then the option to have these guest areas. So again, the information is still online, but it's protected that someone on here wouldn't be able to get in without putting in the passcode. And then it shows like what his support network looks like. And this is where talks about the employment services. It's just another page on the website, but it's hidden, or it's password protected. There's another. Yeah, so I'm going to jump back here. And then pause for a second and just see if there's any questions about so far. I saw some stuff coming through on the chat. I think that was just tech support. So no pressure to ask questions, but I just wanted to provide some space if anybody had some initial thoughts after that. All right, well, I'll move. Oh.
I was just gonna make a comment, as Allie's kind of referenced the course, she's gonna talk a lot more specifically about what that is and what it entails, because that's another sort of important piece of this process. That the concept is there, which can be done through a lot of different ways, but it's part of the value, I think, as well, is sort of the course that's tied to this work and the level of technical assistance. So she's going to dive into that a little bit now.
Yeah, I'll share about that now. And then Kim, I see you have a question. Will we have the capacity to go in and look at student profiles? Yes. So at the end, I'm going to share the link to WISE's website, and we have a page on there. And it is the two examples of Hasten and Roshni on the website there. So you can take a look. I think we're getting more examples of. I mean, I've done this with a handful of lots of students before, and they end up looking so different, which is truly the goal. So, this isn't, I feel like I've seen other like build a portfolio app, or like, here's this website that like auto generates. And the goal is just that it looks just unique as everyone does. So that's why the templates are cool, that you can get ideas and of what information to use, and then let the student, kind of let it come to life. So the course is a 12-week online instructor-led, and it's an online course with instructor-led and on-demand content. So I'm going to be instructing that. And Amy, you touched on that exactly. So I've shared that first section at conferences, and people leave like really excited and like, okay, I want to do it. And then there's the spectrum of like people that are like, yes, I can go do this. I'm just going to do it and fumble through and like make it work, which is kind of how I started originally. I was just like, I'm just going to try this and see where it ends up. And then on the other side of people feeling like, yeah, this is really exciting, but how do we do this? How do I integrate this into the work that I'm doing? How do I get buy-in from our team? Because it's really it takes a group approach to, or really from the community, of looking at capacity within the program, capacity within whatever that learning environment is, if that's a high school campus or a university campus, a student who is just receiving employment services in the community. And that's where the course really helps us dive in. And then I can help just with that brainstorming of what the implementation can look like. So it includes 4 live sessions. So those are spread out throughout the 12 weeks, up to 5 individual coaching sessions with hours of individual coaching with the instructor. So myself, and then I have a co-instructor who is supporting with the course as well. And that, again, is time for us to really get a plan together so that you feel confident to, if you want to roll it out with 1 or 2 or 3 students, or you're like, let's go for it, I've got 15, like, how do we do this? And then the course includes the tools around the content planners, site maps, kind of how, so the content planning is the information that you want to go in it. Site map is kind of what is the layout. And that just gives the student or individual the option to figure out how they want to tell their story. And those are tools that we go over in the course. And then access to the online website builder, which like I shared earlier, Wix Education is free. So you feel free to kind of check that out. Even at the bottom, it might, because it asks questions very specific to education, like what is your subject? And are you, what grade do you teach? There are other options on all of those. And then you can just put, if you just want to put WISE and then website portfolios, it just helps them track kind of the amount of people that we're touching with sharing this information out. And then collaboration and interaction with other professionals in the field, and then access to our learning center for other on-demand trainings is what's included with that. So I did a side-by-side. So thanks to Amy. So this really cool project came up with our with one of the districts that we're supporting, and it was an opportunity for a student to apply for a grant. And the way that they wrote it is that the student would be able to sponsor their teacher to attend the course with them. And I was like, I had always envisioned this being student focused. But then when I went to build the content, I kept being drawn to like the facilitator role in this, of how to roll this out with numerous individuals that are creating this. So anyways, we've done a parallel course. So for people that are signed up in the course, so the facilitator, so if that's the educator or the employment specialist, there's a 12-week course with the 4 live sessions, the one-to-one coaching, supporting individuals. That's the role that's supporting the individuals and creating the websites. And then there's just creating it. Like, how do you do it? This is how do you gather the content, learning about self-advocacy, what information do you want to put in it, gathering it, and then creating the actual portfolio. So if you were to sign up for the course, you're getting access to the facilitator course, and then whoever else, if you have 1 or 2 students or 10, they all get access to the job seeker or student course to do that alongside the facilitator. I have the course dates on there, and maybe it like covered it up. What happened here?
Threw the link to the flyer in the chat for folks too.
Oh, great. Okay. I don't know what happened there. Well, we have 2 courses scheduled right now. There's one starting in October that runs, it is 12 weeks, but because it fell over the winter break, it extends a little bit into January. So it runs for 15 weeks, but there's still just the 12 weeks of content. And then another course that's beginning in February. And then possibly a summer one. So some options there. And then I do have a form at the end. If you're like, I don't know where I land on this, or I just want to kind of stay plugged in, you can fill that out. And then I can, I'll be sharing information out as those develop. But looking at, so things to consider about the course, doing this process is really like, how can you as an organization incorporate this into what you're already doing? Because that was a common concern when I would share this information in the past, is like, now another thing. Now we have to build websites. And like, that's where this kind of gives you the freedom to be creative, because we're already like writing these plans. The student is doing work-based learning experiences. There's the discovery process is happening. And this is just a tool to like keep it alive, make it dynamic, and add ways for people to get creative with it. And then considering the continuation of the websites in partnership with the employment provider, again, kind of whoever else is involved in the process. So if there is some sort of handoff or transition, just trying to avoid that transition cliff. And the hope is that this can be that tool. If the student the individual is involved in the process, they're, logging in, they're accessing the website. And again, we're saying that this is a tool for everybody, and that support looks different depending on the individual support needs. So there's been students that I've supported with and done most of the work because it's not really something that they're interested in, and that's okay. Like, I don't feel like that's cheating because the student now has a tool to share about themselves. So they were involved in as much as they could be. But they still can benefit from a tool of having something that's shared about their life experiences. So considering the content collection and gathering, I know someone had asked, had mentioned that at the beginning when we asked the question. That's part of what we dive into into the course. There's lots of different ways to, we're getting into like file management. So some schools have Google Suite or OneDrive. So some of those things are already built into our programs. I'm just a big fan of Google. I mean, it's a free platform. You get the email, so it allows someone to have a professional email, and then attached to that is a Google Drive storage. So looking at, setting up the file management of if it's specific to an internship, or they're looking at their education, and then they can just start dropping that content into those different folders. And I have found that getting the information together first and then starting the website just keeps the momentum going. Because when I originally started, I'm like, let's sign up for websites. Like the first day of class, we like all went in and they signed up and like picked their template. And then they're like, okay, I have nothing that I need to put on my website. So we still have like a coffee shop template website, which was like not very exciting. So gathering the information before, and that being photos, the iPhone, just phones in general have a lot of really amazing technology on them. So you can take a portrait photo and that looks like a headshot. So we don't need DSLR like headshot photos. Those are great. And make the website look awesome. And you can do it on an iPhone. So this doesn't take a ton of tech to get started. And it's not, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I think that this is just a tool that can elevate a student's voice just instantly. Having a website and being able to share their experiences, like at the beginning, paints the portrait of competence. It's like just that they have this tool that they're able to use. Personal information, so options for maintaining privacy. I talked a little bit about that, but also involving the person, because we're in a digital age. We're in a digital world. Digital content is a thing. Our information, I'm being recorded now, so I'm contributing to the AI database. We're always being listened to. So, and then firewalls, this seems really specific, but one thing that we did learn through the pilot is that there were issues specifically with the site, the Project Search site. So at the hospital, that Wi-Fi had firewall blocks. And then if you're working specifically with students who have school laptops, there's lots of blocks to websites. So just some workarounds on that. There's what they call whitelists. So connecting with the IT department, just explaining the project, that this is what you're doing. So yeah, there's workarounds on that. So it's not like, oh, I can't get to the website, we can't do it. There's ways to get around that. And then I'll just share this little bit. We did work with students with the pilot on using AI, so ChatGPT. And this, one of their initial concerns, the students were worried about the writing, the amount of content. How are they going to write their bios? Again, it doesn't really have to be text heavy in general, but we did use the website, the AI to help with the website bios, extracting task lists, which was really powerful. So you saw on Hasten's website, we put in ChatGPT, just said, create a bulleted list of 10 skills involved with folding boxes. And it spit out this list that was like extremely articulate, talking about precision and the dexterity involved and understanding food handling safety regulation. So it just really helped change the language that the individual could use to really share their skills with an employer. It's like we kind of just have to speak the employer language. The student may not have been able to create that, but those are skills that he has because of the experiences that he's had. Drafting emails, extracting skills from job responsibilities. So the same thing with Roshni's, we put in that specific autism center that she was working at, and because it's pulling information from all over the site, it recognized what that department was specific to Seattle Children's and made and referenced that in the list, which was really powerful. So it said, there were different cleaning solutions that were used for different procedures, because some of the toys needed to be quarantined, some could be hand wiped, some needed to be soaked for X amount of hours. So it wasn't just, a cleaning job in the hospital. Like she had a really, there was a lot of procedures involved with that. And even with that, it's like, well, we could just say that she did this job, or if we can be really specific so that the next person that's going to support her in finding a job is like, oh, you did some of these really specific protocols at this last internship. So again, kind of the details, capturing those details. Here's the upcoming course dates. I was like, I know I did this slide. Okay, yeah, so the upcoming course dates, we have one starting October 9th, that's going to run through January, another group in February, and then a summer course that'll start in April. So I know that, Amy, thank you. I think you dropped that in the Google Drive folder, so this presentation should be accessible. And then I guess I'll leave you with this. So I was actually on a couple different calls within a short span, and numerous people referenced this specifically around technology and AI, but this is a quote from the director of IBM's National Support for Center with Disabilities from 1998. So it says, for most people, technology makes things easier. For people with disabilities, however, technology makes things possible. In some cases, especially in the workplace, technology becomes a great equalizer and provides a person with a disability a level playing field on which to compete. So this just like gives me chills reading this, because I feel like we've got to do better. We have to move away from like these stagnant documents, the white binders. We're just like keeping people with disabilities in the past by like not elevating their voices and highlighting really the amazing things that are happening. So with that, I will, if there's more questions, we can do that. And then I will I'll put the link to, I mentioned that form that I can share if you're interested in just staying on top of kind of what's happening with this, or, want to learn more about the courses. That's a quick Google form to fill out, or Microsoft form.
Just wanted to mention something that Ali and I talked about yesterday, which was that when, this can be utilized for any individual, regardless of the level of support they might need. And so even the course that's very specific to the individual who is developing the website portfolio, that can be somebody who has, some complex support needs, but you hope then that the support that is provided to that individual, can really make the information accessible that meets that individual's needs, so they can have that input and they can have that level of engagement. And it might look different for different students, but the intention, if this is accurate, Ali, is that this should be available to any student, regardless of their level of support needs. So, and for some students, for me, when I first learned about this, I just thought, for some students, this would be a fabulous way to demonstrate a lot of ability and a lot of interest and more information than they might be able to glean in other formats, I guess. Other questions or comments for Ali? My hope is that possibly through either the DIF grant that Book Rehab was awarded, or maybe through some additional resources that we might be able to support or sponsor, a few individuals to participate in this who have folks that they're working with. So just to make sure this is correct, Ali. So if Farah signed up for the course, Farah could be supporting a number of students per se in that course. So it's not just one student or one job seeker,
right?
But it's the facilitator. So Farah would be the facilitator, and then whomever she's working with that this would be appropriate for during that course, then you could be developing. So my hope is, though, that we can support, find some ways to support some participation in the course if there's interest in that. So if there is interest, please feel free to reach out to me. or reach out to Ali as well. But I know that can feel expensive. So my hope is we can identify some resources to help, maybe those who really want to do this and try this, to give them the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and the goal is just and I pulled up, this is Kyle's website, and the cool thing about Kyle, he and his mom attended a presentation that I did, I think like back in 2015. And then they just went home and we worked on this a little bit together, but he just did there's some really cool, just a way to show his advocacy involvement, presentations that he's done, some legislation, things that he's involved with, which are just pretty awesome. So and I think his mom supported a lot in building this, but that doesn't take away the power of what this can do for Kyle. So I just wanted to share that one with you, I think. And then I even, Ahmad's is still up. Here is Ahmad's current one. And he writes on his blog regularly, which, yeah, September 4th, I had today, Monday, September 4th, Labor Day, sunny, hot, water drinking, worked at his job at Harris Teeter until 9 p.m. That was late. Yeah, it's just been a really cool way for him to, he's been really active on this. So his career stuff was awesome. So he works at a country club, driving the golf cart, and then he catches the balls he drives the catcher, and then works at Harris Teeter in different roles there. But yeah, this is some of his internship stuff. So yeah, I think that's all I've got. But yeah, like I was saying, the course is intended to teach, and then you can continue to implement this like throughout your organization or with future students that you have. It's really just kind of that jump start to get the setup done and to do some, the learning curve with the tech piece can be a little intimidating. So that's, the course is intended to help with that too.
Ali, I want to thank you so much for presenting today and sharing this information. My hope is that we'll have some Iowans who can dive into this and learn more about it. And I wanted to let folks know I put the evaluation form in the chat. If you would please take just a minute to fill that out, to share just some feedback with us, recommendations for future sessions. Our next session is October 12th. It will be 1 to 2:30. And Debbie Moore with WISE is going to be Introduction to Partners for Work, which is about a program they've been doing since about 2008. And she says Rotarians can open doors. And that's been the theme for Partners for Work. Rotarians from our district have made connections with businesses that have led to over 140 jobs for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities in King County. And then she goes on and shares more. In the folder that I shared, there's an overview of the next session. We'll also send that out to folks to let people know in our just community of practice emails. And the evaluation form is also linked on that document in today's folder. So I just want to thank Ali again and thank all of you for joining us. We're happy to stay on if folks have any questions, or feel free to email and reach out. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day.